Eating well felt nearly impossible on one income until I learned this. If you are feeding a family on one income and trying to do it right, healthy, budget friendly, stress free, you're probably exhausted and maybe even discouraged. You want to be wise with your money, and you want your kids to eat really well, and you want your meals to feel nourishing instead of completely defeating. But here's the secret that I wish I'd learned sooner. You don't need to spend more money, you just need to simplify better. So in this video, I am sharing the simple secret to eating well on one income. I'm giving you 4 frugal food rules that really helped me stop overspending, stop stressing, and start feeling good about how I fed my family without any guilt. And rule number 4 is the one you want to really listen for. That one completely changed my entire world as a mom. I really did think I was doing it right. Ever since my first child was born, I had stayed at home full time, and we have lived on one income. So it's been 13 years now. Since the very beginning, I wanted to prove that I could still be your traditional homemaker making delicious food despite living paycheck to paycheck a lot of the time. So I made these big, complicated meal plans. Every recipe was new. I was trying to rotate meats and introduce more vegetables and make everything from scratch that I possibly could. And really, I wanted to be that mom. But by the end of the week, usually, half the produce went bad and the kids barely touched the stir fry that I made. And I was just so tired. And you know what I would do the next week? I would try even harder. It is a vicious cycle. So let me give you 4 food rules that can hopefully break you out of any of these patterns that you have gotten into. Number 1, drop the pressure for variety. That's the very first rule I wish someone had told me. You don't need to aim for variety. You need to aim for consistency and stability and sustainability. I used to think variety meant that I was doing it right. But variety, when it's not grounded in your real life, it just leads to waste. So now I cook meals that I know my family will eat. I buy the vegetables that I actually cook, not the ones that just look good in the fridge. And for me, that usually looks like Brussels sprouts and broccoli from Costco and canned corn or canned string beans usually, or frozen edamame and frozen peas. Those are just my go-tos, and I just kind of rotate through those, and nothing ever gets wasted. As far as fruit goes, I like to have grab and go for my kids' snacks, so things like apples and bananas, even applesauce, just things that I know that they can just grab and handle all by themselves. And then we rotate the same tried and true dinners most weeks with those certain sides. Sweet potatoes. I forgot about sweet potatoes. I enjoy sweet potatoes, so I always have some of those. And that's plenty of variety. That's probably way more than even what your family would want or need. Maybe you hate Brussels sprouts. I have just gravitated towards what we actually eat. I'll get suckered into buying the bag of string beans sometimes at Costco too. It just gets wasted. I'll use maybe half the bag, and I just don't. I don't know why. It's just not what I'm in the habit of, not what everyone loves, including me. So just stick to the tried and true. And you know what? No one is complaining around here. They're more inclined to complain when there's new things introduced. There's less waste, less stress, and I'm not throwing away $30 worth of groceries every single week. This is not laziness, it's wisdom. There is holiness in the ordinary. There is grace in repeating meals. And sometimes we're chasing this novelty when what our families really need is nourishment and a kind, patient mom. So there is something so sacred about just returning to the same meal offered with love. That's not failure, that is faithfulness. And even if you've simplified, there are still going to be days when you're just done. So what do you do then? Let's talk about rule number 2. Do not ever shame a shortcut. There are nights as a stay-at-home mom when you are just wrecked mentally, emotionally, physically. I've had days like that. I have given everything I have to the kids, to the house, to the day. And when 5 o'clock hits, I just cannot bring myself to cook anything. not because we have no food, but because I have no bandwidth. Or maybe there's a sick child and I just cannot peel them off of me long enough to make anything. And it's those times when I realized I need recipes that don't require me to be kind of pushing hard through that, right? It's rarely in the budget for us to just order takeout or to just have my husband grab something on his way home from work. If that's in the cards for you, great, do that. I assume though, if you're watching this video, you're wanting to save money. And so I just keep 3 to 4 meals that I can always throw together. Very simple pasta with a jar of sauce. Breakfast for dinner. My family loves that. Very simple tacos. Maybe even some frozen chicken nuggets. Honestly, the ones from Costco are pretty good. And maybe that's still too much. Maybe that still feels like you're cooking. Cereal, sandwiches, have a few staples that you know everyone loves. I'm honestly grateful that my family sees it as a treat if ever they get to have cereal for dinner. Rely on those things and cash in that chip when you need to. It's not cheating. It's stewarding within your energy, within your limits. By doing that, I am giving myself a buffer so that I don't burn out and overspend on that takeout, right? I have things built in for that. And this is where coaching meets homemaking. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't need to overspend to try to reward yourself. You're simplifying. You're allowing shortcuts. And maybe you're still tossing leftovers out every week and it kills you, right? It feels like the biggest failure to be throwing food away that you cooked and worked hard on. So this is where rule number 3 comes into place. Embrace leftover nights. I'm going to be totally honest and let you know that I did grow up eating leftovers. We were very low income when I was growing up. Leftovers were very normal to me. We never wasted anything. And it wasn't until I grew up that I realized plenty of people turned their nose up in absolute disgust over the idea of reheating yesterday's dinner. It's just not as good, right? It's not the same as it was when it was fresh. The microwave makes it taste weird. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it is the taste. Maybe it's just kind of like the mindset of the whole thing. But what I would like to encourage you to do is start seeing leftover night as such a blessing. It's planned, it's expected, and it's even appreciated. The key is this: find meals that reheat well, or repurpose easily, or stretch into something new. Taco meat becomes nachos, and roast chicken turns into chicken noodle soup. Pasta for the spaghetti, maybe not spaghetti, but penne pasta or something can be baked into a casserole the next day. Leftovers are not a failure. They are a very frugal, smart strategy. They're not scraps, right? They are proof of abundance, which we kind of need the reminder of sometimes. Living on one income, we need to recognize we had plenty. We had more than enough. And when we choose to use that well, we're practicing not only gratitude, but also stewardship. And that's what finally brings me to the last rule. This one is a game changer, so are you ready? I want you to aim for a B-. So I used to think that if dinner wasn't an A+, from scratch, nutritious, Pinterest worthy, got some good sales, that it wasn't worth doing. Truly, I would be so quick to want to throw it away if it wasn't just right. My mom will attest to this. Many a times have I called her in the midst of what I deem as a cooking disaster, usually baking disaster, but sometimes cooking disaster. And she talks me off the ledge so that I finish what I'm doing, and lo and behold, it turns out pretty well. And it's totally edible, and I seriously was this close to throwing it away. So in this pursuit of an A+, I would push myself to the limit. Sometimes I would spend too much on special ingredients for this beautiful gourmet meal. Sometimes I would show up to dinner expecting certain things around the dinner table, like smiles and big appetites and gratitude, and then I would get crushed when things did not go as planned. And then I learned about B-. B- is enough, right? It means it got done. It means you showed up. It means you fed your people and their full bellies. And sometimes B- is actually more sustainable than an A+, because the B- doesn't require you to perform. It just invites you to do it, to show up. And let me give you some examples of what that might look like, because your skin might be crawling, right? I don't want to shoot for a B-. Like, when have we ever been taught to do that in our life? I'm telling you to do that now. So let me think. Serving breakfast for dinner, which I do very often. Have you found that? Like, your family just loves pancakes or waffles or, the freeze-dried hash browns or scrambled eggs. You serve breakfast for dinner and you don't apologize for that. Or maybe you use canned beans instead of soaking your own. Maybe you put dinner on the table 20 minutes later because you just needed a minute, or your child just needed a minute. It's rotating the same meals throughout the week because that's what fits this season. And sometimes it's feeding your kids with chicken nuggets and a side of applesauce because that absolutely counts. B- is not sloppy, it's faithful. And in motherhood, faithful counts every single time. I used to believe that frugal cooking meant less joy, less nourishment, less beauty. And maybe you've heard these rules and some red flags are popping up in your mind. But that's not the cheapest option. Wouldn't scratch-made be so much more cost-effective? Or is it really frugal to rely on those convenience foods sometimes? And here's what I want you to know. You're totally right. It might not be the most frugal way always to live, but it's sustainable, because true peace in homemaking does not come from extreme measures. It comes from rhythms that you can actually keep showing up for. And when you're living on one income, that sustainability is the very thing that will unlock joy in that situation. It's what will make room for connection instead of resentment or feeling like you're being deprived of anything. It's what keeps you from burning out or from giving up. The goal is not perfection, it's peace. And that peace is very possible even in the kitchen. So if this video gave you a breath of relief, if you're ready to cook with more confidence again, grab my free ebook, You Were Made for This. It is full of coaching tools and scripture reflections and permissions that allow you to really be the homemaker that you were called to be. And if you're feeling down on your efforts in the kitchen, be sure to watch this next video. That's the lie I believed for way too long about what it meant to be a good Christian homemaker. You're doing so much better than you think, and I will see you very soon.